Hello and welcome to Jedi and the Mailman, the show where two old friends aim to deliver the best Star Wars talk in the galaxy. I'm Mike the Mailman. That's Jimmy the Jedi. And joining us tonight, our other ETF buddy, it's Jack. How we doing, gentlemen?
I'm more awake than Jack is. Partially.
Pretty
Yeah,
late
just
over there in the UK.
Yeah,
So-
it's just gone. It's just gone past 1 a.m.
Yeah. All right. He's a trooper. All right. Before we get into this week, I just want to apologize for last week. I know we told you we would lead you guys into every episode and get you hyped up and psyched. And, life sometimes gets in the way of Star Wars. It should be the other way around, but it's not, unfortunately.
100%.
So, but we're here this week. We got Jack alongside us. And just like 2 weeks ago, we're going to recap the episodes from last week. We are going to give you some predictions and thoughts on what we might plan to see this week and go for there. But how crazy is it, guys, that tonight it's over? Like, this went so fast, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if I love it. I mean, I love it because when I'm getting it, I'm like, eating up Star Wars. But then, like, next week, we'll be like,
Nothing. Yeah,
nothing.
we'll be a
And,
bunch
I
of
mean,
sad little boys.
we don't know. Do we know anything? We get Visions in October. Yeah, that's what they said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
October.
It's a ways
So
off.
we got to wait till October. I mean, I know we're getting some Marvel stuff thrown in there. I know they just issued Ironheart. Was it Ironheart? No. Is that the new Iron Man, Ironheart or something? Anyways, so that's been announced to come out this summer. But yeah, I don't know. Like, Jack, I mean, you and Charlie have talked about it. And you got to talk with Johnny T on Sunday. How do you feel about it? This is crazy, right? Like, all this anticipation, and then bam, it's over.
Yeah, exactly that. And obviously, we've just had Japan. We've seen the first episode in Japan. It's flash to bang. It's done within a month.
Mhm.
I probably enjoyed it the most doing the recaps for Andor. The fan reaction, the community is really taken off. And Charlie said it in the last episode as well. And I totally agree that we haven't seen a reaction or the hype this big, arguably, since the Force Awakens trailer.
Till the
Yeah.
ISB got her.
Till the ISB shut her down.
Took her off the airwaves. So.
So yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of this 3-episode release schedule. I've fit it into my daily routine here, but yeah, it's all going to be gone here next week. It's just crazy.
Will
But,
you go back and will you watch episodes like? Because I mean, I plan on something. For me, it's a little bit easier because like you guys have to continue to work in a week. I don't work anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna go back through and kind of watch and digest a little bit more.
Honest, I don't know if I would go back and rewatch this series. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. I really think that given the right push, if Star Wars wasn't attached to it for one thing, this would be one of those TV series that everyone is talking about, that everyone is watching.
This would be like
Unfortunately,
Shogun.
people can't get past the Star Wars thing. Oh, I'm not a Star Wars person. I'm not a Star Wars person, or whatever. But man, is it good? But I don't think I want to go back and rewatch it. It's just, I mean, we'll talk about it as we go along here. But last week, I mean, I was literally on the edge of my seat, like during the escape, trying to get Mon Mothma out of the Senate, and it's so intense. It brings up so many feelings. I'm finding it hard to sleep after watching some of the episodes. It's like just so much going on in your head. But
honestly, that's what I said to Molly is like, how do we sleep after that? Like after the Gorman massacre and then after the escape with Mon and everything that happens at the end of episode 9. I'm like, how in the hell am I supposed to go to sleep with that on my mind? It's not like you just watched a fun, cheery episode of, Star Wars Rebels like a lot of us did. We jumped on to Rebels and we watched, was it season 3, episode 18, Jack? I think you guys talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But, like this was like, I mean, this felt like I was watching something from like, something happening in the real world or something. It's just like, oh, crap. So.
Yeah,
well,
the crazy thing is as well is the fact that we all know how it's ending. We all know where it's leading up to. Yet it's still surprising us. That's what's standing out for me at the minute, and it just shows the excellence of Tony Gilroy and his team with the writing and the dialogue. it's absolutely crazy that we know where it's going, we know what's happening, yet week after week, we're still coming away surprised and astounded.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we know how this arc ends tonight, but we're all still like, I have dread in my heart for what's about to happen this evening. So
Yeah.
that's a really good point, Jack.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the episodes too much yet, but like last week, we didn't have. Was there really a good guy that died on us? You know what I mean? Like the previous episodes, we've had somebody that we have to mourn their death. This week it was Cyril. I mean, he's a bad guy. So this week, because really we didn't have any of the good guys die last week, who's gonna eat it this week? It's gonna be a real banger.
I think the big thing was last week we watched Cyril, a character that's arguably had the biggest development in any Star Wars series to date. To me, he died 3 times in that episode. Once with Dedra when he'd realised that she'd betrayed him.
Mm-hmm.
Then when he realised that Andor didn't have a clue who he was, so all that work he's been doing got him nowhere.
Yeah.
And then the third time was obviously the blaster to the head.
Yeah.
When you said that, Jack, I didn't think about it that way until you said that on the show. As I was editing it, I was like, oh, damn. Like, that's a good point. Like, just the whole, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
like,
that's in our notes. We'll get to that. So let's not spoil it too much. But let's just, we kind of talked about our overall feelings here, but let's kind of center it in on these 3 episodes. We'll start with you, Jack. Like, how did you feel about these 3 episodes? We'll go around the horn.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier. We're getting surprises at every single stage, even though we know what's happening. We know Moff's going to survive. We know Cassian's going to survive. I think it's the brutalness of how people are getting killed off is similar to like the Game of Thrones Red Wedding stuff. I think that's like a massive thing in TV history as well. So it's definitely up there. Again, it's just like the dialogue's incredible. It's just encapsulating every single word people are saying. You're hanging off every single bit. Seeing people like Saw Gerrera, how they are now to, again, you know what's going to happen and how they're going to become in Rogue One. There's just so many Easter eggs as well. You're constantly on the lookout. I think this is one of those things. This is one of those TV series where you don't want to pick up the phone or you don't want to go make a cup of tea or get a drink. You have to focus because you're too scared to walk away for 2 minutes because you'll come back thinking, what have I missed? I mean, I've watched the episodes 2 or 3 times now, and every time I've watched it, I've realised something or I've seen something new.
Yeah.
Jimmy, how about your thoughts?
Can't wait for that rewatch. Is this the best Star Wars? Like, and I think there are like categories, but this for intense like adult Star Wars, this is the best thing I think I've seen. Like, you said about people eating this up. I kind of think of the Shogun on was it Hulu, and how people just gravitated towards because of its realness and its grittiness. And I think you're right, Mike. Like, if this didn't have the label of Star Wars on it and people just didn't turn their nose up to it, this would be getting a way more hype than I think it does. But yeah, I've been thinking about these episodes since I've watched them, last Tuesday night. Just I can't get them out of my head. Real world implications, being a history teacher, all the stuff that they pull into it. But phenomenal writing, like Jack said, phenomenal acting, phenomenal sets. I mean, in the way they're tying stuff in, just it blows my mind. So,
yeah, it's just been crazy good. And something else just popped into my head then, Jimmy, as well, is what you were saying there, like the Shogun stuff. It's just huge. Like you mentioned as well that Star Wars for adults, but funnily enough, like we know George Lucas, he didn't make Star Wars for adults. He made Star Wars for kids. This is as far away from Star Wars for kids, I think, as possible.
Yeah, but I'm here for it. But I get what you mean. But that's like we talked about before. Like I didn't want Hera and Ezra and Sabine to show up in this, but I love Hera, Sabine, and them as well. So it's a weird contradiction of styles with a timeline that we know is all working together.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Some people probably talk about the recap.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to talk about real quick about how, everybody's saying how this, especially this arc, I mean, it's really coming to light. It's really showing how reminiscent it is of everyday life, especially here in America. You know what I mean? And not just in America. I mean, these sort of things that they're touching on, the same things that are going on over in, in Israel and Gaza. You know what I mean? Like then here in America with, them trampling on our civil rights and things like that. There's so many touch points in this that people are saying, man, how did they know? Because this show was written. So, how did they know that these things were going to be so? And really, the reason they know is because history, like you're saying, Jimmy, this isn't just right here and now. Like there's so many things throughout history that this touches right on. You talk about the Gorman being a lot like the French resistance during World War II, and we've had massacres all throughout our history, sadly. So it's not necessarily that they're predicting the future when they wrote this, or that it's right here and now. It's just that, Jimmy, I'm blaming you. History teachers do a terrible job of getting this thing through to people. That's the biggest thing of history is nobody remembers history, and they just keep repeating the same things over and over again.
Yeah, I've always tried to debunk that. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it, because I said there's plenty of people in the world that remember their history. We just keep repeating it because we're human beings. So it is bonkers to me, and you can tell for any kid who wants to be a writer, any kid who wants to be in the movies or comic books, like they all take our history and the world's history and they turn it into stories that we love. This one just hits a little closer to home, I think, because it's so real. It's easy to overlook fuzzy little bears running around being, that's easy to kind of put in the back of your mind. But things like this, and we're adults now too, and we can see that stuff. But yeah, so I think you're right, though. I have people giving them a lot of credit for, like, oh, look at them, they're predicting the future. But this is, and they have said multiple times where they're pulling from different things. So yeah, it's pretty impressive writing. It's pretty impressive just use of the history of the world overall, as far as, and it's sad that they have so many things to pull from.
Yeah.
I wish this was all just made up. And they're thinking like this could happen in the real world, instead of being like, oh, the real world's been our inspiration.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Sad but true. All right. So do we want to get into these episodes then?
Dive in.
Let's talk a little bit about episode 7. So it starts out basically on Yavin. We see that the rebellion is definitely getting their crap together. They seem legit. We're turning into a real fighting force. And we move to the little family reunion. Will's back from huffing gas with Saw. And seriously, that's the last thing we saw him doing is hanging out with Saw, getting high off their supply there. But apparently he's been off agitating on Gorman, finding himself a girlfriend and trying to get things going get things going on Gorman for for the rebellion. So what comments do you guys have about the the first little bit during episode 7?
Yeah, I think it's really hard for them to set up these, and they've done a really great job of setting up a year later, but making us feel like, I've seen complaints about we're missing so much stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you can't have it all. We want it all because we're selfish Star Wars fans, but I think they've done a really great job in setting up each year. This one was, this tonight will be the trick. How do they set up starting that? But yeah, I've liked it. And, you think about where it ended and where we're at, and just kind of how they're setting things up. And I'll say Willman is, he's a ladies' man. That guy he finds a lady on every planet he's on. So, take notes, I guess.
Well, hey, what are they fighting for if not for
love, baby?
For love, yeah.
Nice. What about you, Jack? What do you think about the start of each episodes?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, they've done a great job, I think, of fitting it in, doing a year later, etc. I think we're starting tonight. I think they're starting, they're starting 5 days before, or there's something 5 days before the events in Rogue One. But they actually start off with a massive banger of an episode, because straight away Cassian's struggling with a wound that's not healing correctly. Yeah. So Bix obviously then takes him to a force healer, or a gathering of people. Now, I think with this, it's beautifully tied into Rogue One, where she calls him the messenger. Obviously, that's the title of the episode, Messenger, as well. And she relays, he's destined to go somewhere. Now, my biggest thing with this is she obviously sees something in Cassian that he's going to deliver a message. Now, we know his fate in Rogue One. He has to get those plans through from Scarif up to the Rebels. Interesting thing here for me is, does she actually know that and refuse to say anything in case it changes the course of his destiny? Or does she just, not actually know the future? So she sort of, got a broad overview. But I think it's a really interesting way for Andor to tackle the Force. Because at the minute, the only thing we haven't seen in Andor is a lightsaber. Everything else has been covered.
Yeah. That the Force healer scene really tied this series back into Star Wars, because you could really easily forget. I mean, obviously there's lots of little hallmarks of Star Wars, but if you're not paying attention to any of that, there's no mysticism. There's no, like you said, there's no lightsabers. There's none of that, core stuff that we think of as Star Wars. It's just this gritty, real world drama. And then all of a sudden they bring in that Force healer. I know for me, like, I'm like, what is this? And then you realize, oh yeah, this is what ties it in. This is what makes it a Star Wars show. So it was, a good use of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after the events on Yavin, then we guess we move to Gorman, right? And we see, the Dedra's there pushing forward the Empire's plans.
Yeah.
Cyril's, being Cyril, trying to play, trying to not necessarily, I won't want to say play both sides, but trying to, I don't know, he has a different idea of what's going on. And we find out that Dedra, even though she's executing this plan, moving things forward, she still cares for Cyril and she wants to save him. I think she's thinking back to that quaint little life that they had that we saw back, 2 arcs ago, when it started out with them back in their apartment on Coruscant. I think she wants to get through this, get that promotion, get back to that happy life on Coruscant, and she needs Cyril. So she's got to lie to him, but she wants to save him and whatnot. So what do you guys think about the kind of the ramping up of what we know is coming in episode 8?
Real quick before we have a bunch of people over on Instagram going crazy in the comments. Lots of good stuff here. Just talking about the commitment to history and things like that we've been talking about, the Focus Trooper. And then on your comment about how each episode has started, to Garuda Jedi says in the Ferric spell to start off the new time period for each arc. It's like a stark reminder of where we started. So that was a really good point. But yeah, everyone over on Instagram is we're kind of blowing up over there with lots and lots of good people, or good comments and stuff from people. But
excellent.
Yeah, I think that, man, the tension, like you said, Mike, I just sat there on the edge of my seat, because it's coming. Like, you don't know when. Like, is it going to start in this episode and it's going to carry over in the next one, or just kind of sitting there holding on. And yeah, and Dedra and Cyril, man, they're a complicated mix of I don't know exactly what's going on. They're two messed up people. I feel like they found each other, and I don't know if two wrongs make a right in this case or not. So, but I thought it was pretty cool. I love the way I hated the way, as soon as they brought those new recruits, Jack can tell you this, or all of us are in military, and you see those newbies that come out of basic training, you're like, oh my God, like you're a soup sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, what a mess. And then
you're gonna get someone killed.
Yeah, you're gonna get somebody killed. You know what I mean? And like, that's the whole point. They're there, and I just thought that was, again, their experiences and some of the things that I feel like they shouldn't have experience or knowledge in, like things like that, like to pull that in, like just the writing. So I love it. I love the way it's set up. And I was confused with I will say that I'll ask you guys this too. Cyril and the girl that gets cornholed by the K2 unit, the KX unit, like cornhole thrown. Later on during the massacre, like, is there some kind of like romantic like feelings there? Like,
There's certainly a connection. Yeah,
it was weird to me. I don't know. I haven't got the chance to rewatch it, but Cyril's like, I mean, I don't know. I felt like there was some kind of weird connection, like romantically there, that maybe we haven't been privy to, or maybe she's just kind of playing him, trying to get information, because they all seem to know that he's a snake by the end of it, though.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And I think we've seen he's certainly a playable type of guy. He's just looking for that, somebody to take me seriously. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cyril kind of reminds me of Randall from Recess. He's trying to be everyone's friend, but ends up snitching to the teachers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think he sort of, like I said, that they're in love, or well, Dedra didn't want the job. She didn't want Gorman. We know that. We know that from the start. Then the whole thing with Cyril, I think it becomes a bit of a hot mess, and she sort of uses him to get to where she needs to on Gorman. And then I think that's when the cracks start to appear in the arcs. Now, the chick that gets cornholed, as you put it, or we call it punted, I think he sort of fell in love with that Gorman resistance because he felt like he was part of something again. So I think that's the route they were going down with Cyril and that, and then he had that connection with her, because I know, obviously, I think the last week's art, was it, or the week before, they didn't think he could actually speak the language, and he started speaking the language and doing the whole, goodbye, how are you, all that good stuff, sign language, as well. And then, like you said, Mike, it ramps it up nicely for episode 8.
Yeah, it's like the powder keg is packed and it's ready to blow. So that leads us right into episode 8, and Cass. Well, I guess it's the end of episode 7 when Cassian and Will fly into. But then we pick up, in episode 8, they're there. Seems to be like Cassian recognizes the trap. We see things like Cyril might be realizing that he's being used, and good, lots of things coming to light early in the episode. And even though everybody seems to know that something bad is going to happen here, the Gore still, they feel like we have to move forward regardless, right? They want to get something moving. They feel like they're being neglected. Cassian, he knows it's a trap, but he can't dissuade anybody, and he still has his job to do. Will, he's got his woman. He's going to, stand by her side regardless, no matter what. And we head into that square where we know bad things are going to happen. The Gore, I just love the Gore people are walking in with Channing, and then the guy, big strong brute of a guy, just starts singing, and you get that whole chant. That chant just turns into that singing, and the whole square is just singing that same song. It's just like a soccer game or a football game over there in the UK, where the whole stands just are singing, all singing along. Just that, man, it really, really hits you, really builds you. So, what do you guys think about the beginnings of the slaughter here, I suppose you'd call it?
Yeah, no kidding. First off, I want to make sure everyone understands what I mean when I say cornhole. I mean toss like the cornhole bag.
Okay. It's like, good thing you cleared that up. Yes.
It's tossed like, when you're playing. Anyways, I just wanted to clarify that because we're a family-friendly show. I meant nothing inappropriate. And I'm going to bring up something that's going to be painful for Mike and I, but this scene when they're coming in peacefully, it kind of reminded me of the stuff when we were watching the crumbling at Penn State, when everything was falling apart at Penn State with Joe Paterno, and I don't want real world and stuff like that, and you get whatever you want, but that was this peaceful protest, and then you get this mob mentality, and you see it with kids all the time. There's a bunch of kids, you see it with people, like they start acting a fool because they feel safe, and I mean, just another one of those things in history, like you think about like the Bloody Sunday in Russia, and you think about the Boston Tea Party. Sorry, Jack. And you think about these mobs, and that's never going to end well. And they just sprinkle enough of little things here and there that you're just getting your like heartbeats like bum 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 bum. You can barely hear what's being said on the television. I think that they take Cyril in, and they set him down, and there's all those KX droids. And you're like, oh no, like that was like, I was like, oh no, like I'm just like they're just waiting to bring them out. I thought it was great the way they built that up, and just getting ready for the explosion of everything. And then, we kind of knew what was going to happen. You could see it. I thought it would started from the Gormans, but the way that they initiated, I thought was pretty sick. So pretty twisted. And, that made me think of like Hitler in Poland, where he fakes that, incident with the radio station and uses that as an excuse to invade Poland.
Yeah.
Right. Like just little things like that. So
the United States bombing their own ship to start the war in Vietnam.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of it. So, by you, Jack.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the thing that Tony Gilroy was saying about real world politics and some of the links for Andor. I can't find it for the life of me. I'll try and find it, and I'll link it in the comments if I can. But yeah, you both again bang on, and throughout the episode, things ramp up slowly. You get that level of tenseness. You can see the change in all the characters' face because they know something's coming. A nice little thing that I noticed as well, and it might have just been me, but after each bit of build-up, the music was getting louder and louder and louder. So it's creating that atmosphere. And he sort of, again, relating it to real-world events, etc. It sort of did remind me of the stuff that happened in Ukraine as well, with Kyiv, how that all started, peaceful protests, then they're getting hit by bullets, and next thing it's just absolute chaos. Very similar to the event. So it's a bit of a no-brainer where Tony Gilroy's got the ideas, if you like. Obviously, he's got all the French Revolution stuff, hence the actors. And again, to make up their own national anthem, it just shows the level of detail that they actually went into to make this. And I know at one stage they had 2,000 actors ready to go, but then COVID hit, and they had to go from 2,000 all the way down to 150. And that was a massive, massive knock on, and they had to change parts of the story, and
the Aldani arc, right?
Yeah, so there's things they've had to change throughout the whole of season 2 to make it the masterpiece that it is. But yeah, from getting the new guys, if you like, the fresh recruits, to the Dedra being using the trigger to initiate everything. Again, seeing Cyril before it's happening, and then we get that emotional scene where Dedra and Cyril have a bit of a confrontation, and he force chokes her.
Yeah.
Well, force chokes. He grabs her by the throat, starts choking her, and then we see the scene that everyone believed was Vader giving her a force choke, and we all said it here on Explore the Force. It wasn't. We knew it was going to be a panic attack. Everyone here at Explore the Force knew it was going to be a panic attack. And then obviously we see the sniper getting set up as well. I didn't think that the sniper would shoot their own men to begin with.
Yeah.
I thought they're just going to shoot a civilian and it'll just go from there. But then when they did shoot their own people, straight away I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it makes the Gore look like the aggressors, and all heck can break loose.
It shows the Empire's how twisted the Empire is. They don't care about their people; they care about the agenda.
I thought
goal.
Was interesting too was Partagast, and how he kept making like Daedra, because she's like losing control, because she's in there like 2 or 3 times I think throughout this episode, and she starts talking real fast. She's like calmly, like he's always coaching her, always training her, and I just thought that was an interesting, just, and I know it wasn't much to it, but he's just like calmly, and then every time he's just like, nope, stop, start it, like it was bonkers to me, like that. Those short little scenes of just the control he has, and how he's still like teaching her how to be in control in the middle of this chaos. And obviously, like you said, Jack, like most of us thought it was going to be like, we knew this was going to probably be during that part of the show, and she's going to be like, holy crap, what have I done? So You know, I thought that was really good setup because she's ready to explode, but she can't. Like, she has to be calm. She has to be this. And then as soon as that, Zoom conference is over, she's like, oh my gosh, she's trying to get out of that suit and just, I don't know. I thought that was really powerful. But I still don't think she's changed though. I don't think.
No.
I think that the next time we see Daedra, she's going to be getting assigned to the Death Star. Oh, hey, congratulations, you're going to the Death Star.
Yeah.
We know what happened to her.
Yeah, and an interesting point as well with the Empire is nobody's really willing to take control, and we see that from the off. So, like you mentioned there, he's coaching her, he's telling her, but if it goes wrong, he's got that slopey shoulder to lean on and say, "Look, I told her to, stay calm. She obviously didn't. This is what happened." And it's the same thing when she's speaking to that lieutenant as well. He's telling her what to do, but it's her that has to pull the trigger, her that has to do everything. And that's when she gets backed into that corner of she realizes, holy smokes, this is literally all on me. And if it goes wrong, it's all on me. Even down to the sergeant that's leading the squad out, he doesn't want to go out there. But he gets told, this is down to you. Are we going to have a problem? And he's like, well, okay, yeah, no problem. It's my job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, really, all that just really sets the scene, and like you said, gets you so tense, and so like you could feel both sides of it. You know what I mean? You could put yourself in the footsteps of the people out in the square that are singing the anthem. They're just, they're fed up, and you could put yourself in the footsteps of the people on the Empire side that, like you said, just being forced into this terrible, terrible situation. But yeah, it's all those little things just build. It's such a great story, such great writing, and just well acted. And man, it's just a masterpiece. But we also have in this episode another little touchstone with the Star Wars lore, where Cassian is checking out of the hotel, and our intrepid bellhop, or I guess he's now the front desk clerk at the hotel.
Man. He's a hard worker.
Yeah.
Gives us the quote, "Rebellions are built on hope."
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
But you know where that all came from, right?
About it from Tony's son, right? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Insane little detail that his son turned around and said, well, Dad, where did this come from? And he was like, I don't know. And his son was actually like, well, you need to sort it out. And Tony being Tony, cleverly sorted it out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I love that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He just said the line. And yeah, I thought that was great. And it's just like, I don't know, like I've seen people on Facebook groups and stuff like, oh, this is such poor writing. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, just like the language and so all those people, they're just getting laughed off of these groups. It's kind of fun to watch everyone turn on them in these groups. But yeah, I thought that sliding that in there like that, it didn't necessarily need to happen, but man, it worked well. And it wasn't, it was cool. This wasn't the first time you were with this kid.
Yeah.
You get to see him as a bellhop, and he remembers him. You can see like he knows he's here for a reason, and he's helping him. And it's like he gives him, and him being the messenger and collecting. That's just another part of him collecting. He's collecting this line that's he's going to deliver to Jin, and Jin's going to deliver to the rebellion, and that's going to, you know what I mean. So I just, and it's just. What, half a second, 2 seconds, whatever it took, and just there was no fanfare about it. It wasn't like everything stops and he's like, oh, by the way, rebellions are built on hope. Wink, wink. It was just casual. Like, this is what happens. It's like something they say on their planet. I just think, thank goodness for Tony's son being a big Star Wars fan.
Well, it's one of those lines that just it fit perfectly in the moment. Yet to Star Wars fans who know the origin and what it really means, it's one of those, here's a gift to you guys, but it doesn't take away from the story because it's blended in so well. It's just masterpiece.
Yeah, and another thing as well that they did really well, they didn't take anything away from Mon Mothma in the next episode. So before we get onto that, is what I'm getting at here is we had that scene with Mon Mothma where she knew she was going into battle, and she started to realize this is going to be it for me. There's all her allies are pretty much turning on her. She's got nothing left to do. She knows she's got a big speech to make, and then it does fully focus on the Gorman massacre. One more thing as well that's quite relevant that we sort of missed as well is back in episode 7, it was Vel's line where she turned around and she said that, you know, we aren't the puppets of Luthen anymore, which again is a huge thing because we're starting to see Luthen now. He's starting to lose control. So all these people that have had so much control for so long in the past 2 seasons, the last part of the arc now, they're all losing the grip on everything. But yeah, ties in nicely, and then obviously we have the Mon Mothma thing, and then then we're into the massacre.
Yeah, so we touched on it there. The Empire fires on their own troops, and that's the spark that lights the fire, and everything goes crazy from there. But you know, the Gore, you know, pretty well prepared. They got their Molotov cocktails. They got blasters all throughout, and we head into this just crazy free for all. And I remember the scene of the one guy who's pinned down there and is just shaking with his blaster, and he's scared to death, and but knows like there's no one coming to help. Like you got to man up and do your job. There's so many just little things throughout that whole interchange that, you know, could put you right there in the thick of it and make you feel it. You know what I mean? And just connections. But then we got Cyril, who he's left. Dedra wants to keep him safe, but he's bolted. He's out of the Empire's little stronghold there, and he's just out milling around and through the crowd. And we come to, you know, after the riots are going on for a little while, we see, you know, Cyril comes across Andor. This huge moment where he spots Andor. And it's funny because, like, you think Cyril might be changing, right? He's seeing, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't how this was supposed to go down. These people were being massacred. You could see, like, he realizes that I've been used. But then he spots Andor, and it all comes back. Like, that was who I was here for. That is who I'm after. That guy is my life.
That's what started
everything. We get into the battle between the two of them. So let's work through that battle. Jack, what are your thoughts on the Cyril Andor combat situation?
Yeah, Cyril can fight. Cyril can fight. I thought he did really, really well, to be fair. I was quite surprised there was as much contact in it because it did go on for quite a while as well. The fight scene did. I wasn't surprised, and obviously how it ended up. But like I said at the start of the show, is, you know, we watched Cyril die 3 times there. Like you said, he's seen Andor. He brought all those memories back, and pretty much it's what started the Andor season off, was Cyril versus Cassian, and that's now finished. The realization has been used. The realization that he's seen Cassian. Cassian has no idea who he is, but he's been chasing him for what? Should I say 10 years? About 10 years, give or take.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So, and then obviously gets shot in the back of the head, which I don't think Cyril thought much of. But yeah, up until that point, I thought he did really well.
Yeah, I was impressed by his rage. I mean, he just lost his girl. He just found out that he's, you know, she's been manipulating him for probably a year, and he just goes ape on Cassian, catches Cassian off guard. And even when he gets the upper hand, like, I mean, he has Cassian dead. I mean, he's toast. If it wasn't for that super mad
line.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that. I just thought it was powerful. Like, it's kind of reminiscent, I mean, of Obi-Wan versus Maul on the Twin Sons episode, where Cyril hasn't changed at all, and Cassian has moved on to bigger things and is like bigger picture. He's focusing on the whole rebellion, not his little part in it. But he's, you know, and so he's like, I don't, what? Like, just to be like, who are you? Like, imagine like you have this this person that you think is like your number one nemesis in the world, and like, well, who are you? Like,
right?
I know you, and you're like, what? Like, that would just enrage you even more. So, but that was really great that Cassian didn't recognize him. You know, just kind of just one final dig onto Cyril before he ends up, you know, and you kind of feel bad. I want to give props. I can't think of the actor's name. That guy's hilarious. All the stuff that him and the Dedra are always together on the you know, shows and things like that when they're talking about
all the time.
But dude, as funny as he is, to play this character as straight as he does, is awesome actor. I'm glad Cyril's dead, but I'm sad because like this guy just delivers every time he's on screen. I just can't get over. I think there better be awards for a lot of these people, or at least
I won't be
nominations.
surprised.
So
I won't be surprised. Kyle Soll and Denise Goff, great chemistry.
yeah,
on
that's
screen.
it. Thank you. Yeah, and then they're awesome together, like on the campaign trail or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. They were great at celebration.
Yeah. So yeah, hats off to them. So
yeah. I felt like that scene, that the battle between those two was just so well acted because there was so much animus, so much hate. Like it was such a brutal, just all no holds barred kind of fight where like you could just feel how the hatred and whatnot. Just such a great job acting that out. I was just so impressed with how they did that. And that like everybody said, that "who are you" line just kills him dead, and then a second later he is killed dead. But yeah,
he had to really fight for that line as well. Tony Gilroy said,
"Oh yeah,
they had so many options, and he was adamant he wanted that line.
It's perfect."
Yeah.
I'm glad he fought.
So ironic.
So it's quite the bloodbath in the square, and then the Empire releases the KX droids, and we have the horror movie scene where it's almost like Godzilla or the Hulk walking through the square and just everybody just getting cornholed, as Jimmy said, tossed like bean bags.
There we go. Tossed like bean bags in the game of cornhole here in America. Oh man, Mike, you nailed that, the whole horror thing, because apparently there's a whole episode that's all about this different version of how they meet. I want that as a movie. It kind of reminds me of the Worms episode on Clone Wars, but yeah, that sounded sick. And yeah, those things are terrifying. No weapons. You're like, oh, they don't even have guns, and then they just start tossing people like rag dolls, kicking that stand that they had purposely shown a machine.
The barricade,
and he just drills it and just kills. I mean, that would be. We've had those episodes where we talked about like horror movies. I know you guys talked about it one time about genres, and we talked about Halloween. This will be a new one I want to see. A KX droid, gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, that was the original idea for a ship to be landing on Yavin, I think it was.
Yeah,
the whole concept was like an alien themed movie, but KX droid going around inside like a minotaur in a cave sort of thing.
Would be awesome.
Yeah, totally with you on the horror aspect of it. I mean, those people were running for their life, all the exits were blocked. They managed to obviously find a hole at some point and get through. And then we see it where ultimately it's K2 that's chasing down or hunting down Cassian. And again, Diego Luna, man, what an actor! But he gives us that look in his eyes where you do think at some point, like, he's going to die. He sort of realizes and comes to it. His eyes widen. He's like, that's the look of death. He knows he's going to die. But luckily, is saved.
Yeah. And as we're talking about K2SO here too, I want to get you guys' feelings on this. The introduction of K2SO. It's part of it happens here, and then it happens in the rest of it happens in episode 9. But just altogether, the introduction to K2SO, and I know this wasn't how they initially wanted to introduce K2SO. They had a different plan, but budgetary means didn't allow us to do it the way that they originally wanted to. But how do you guys feel overall about the introduction to K2SO?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah,
it's fine. I would have preferred the horror film, but it's fine. I mean, it's fine. I guess I'd not read the one-off comic that they have out there that told that story. I've not read that. I'm kind of curious now, but I thought it was good. I mean, it's kind of crazy that that's the droid that almost killed him, and then by the time we get to Rogue One, which isn't that far away though, because I felt like those two would have had more time together. So they must do a lot of missions together from that point on. That, you know what I mean? Like once he gets him, I feel like they just must be inseparable because of how tight they are at the end.
Yeah.
I expected more. I guess I thought
Mhm.
he would be around sooner.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it. I'm with you there, Jimmy. I did think it'd be around a lot sooner, but obviously when it all started coming out about the budget, then yeah, okay, that makes sense. Especially with COVID stuff and that happening. But again, Tony Gilroy and his team, extremely clever, because the idea that they gave me was K2SO is there because he serves as a memory, as a trophy of what happened on the Gorman massacre. But he
Mhm.
also shows Anakin. He also shows Cassian. You nearly died. It's that
Yeah.
constant reminder. You're not invincible. This is what you've been through. This is who you're on, where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I mean, along the same lines as you guys, I'm okay with it. I think they made the best of what they could do. It felt a little contrived to me. I think the original plan probably would have been better, but like you said, I think they made the best of it, and we got K2SO. So, and then lastly, the last bit I have here from episode 8 is just that the Gorman call for help that goes out at the very end.
Yeah.
Will's girlfriend on the line, just that desperate plea for help. I mean, riff on that for a second. I got to get this door closed. Hang on.
Yeah, that just shows where the rebellion started to where it is now, pretty much. Again, I'm going to use the Battle of Crate. Nobody answered. Rise of Skywalker, everybody answered. Return of the Jedi, everybody answered. But it's a good starting point for the rebellion, I guess. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, she says the murder of Gore has begun, and I mean, she knows. Everyone knows. I mean, they've known. Like that's why I think, Mike, like you said, like they're kind of out there in that area. They know there's no other choice. Like they've got to stand out. They're probably going to die doing it, but they're going to go out in there. And so, yeah, I thought that was pretty sick. Just crazy. I mean, you just think about. I mean, realistically, you think about that, and they're out there calling for help, and nobody's coming. Like, not at this point in the rebellion. Like, there's no one to help. There's no Jedi anymore. There's no rebellion or alliance or whatever you want to call them. I think it was crazy, and it was really good way to end that episode. Really kind of drove it home.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to episode 9. So we are running short of time here. So definitely want to get off here in time. So get Jackie boy's got to get the crammy season in before he goes to bed.
I'll
It's
be watching
really late in the UK, and I'm sure Jimmy and I want to get on and watch it too, but it won't be quite so late for us. So episode 9. This one's focused more in the Senate and on Mon Mothma. Yeah. But we all, everybody's still involved here. But so it starts off mainly with the arrest of the Gorman senator, the one man speaking the truth that nobody wants to hear. And, the Empire's put him in handcuffs and leading him away. This is just, it's crazy how they, like I said, they equate this to all these other different things that have happened in the future where, and it leads into Mon's speech eventually, just the absence of truth. And we see it a lot now, in our current world where it's nuts, where the honest truth is out there, easy for you to get, and people just listen to whoever the authority is and take their word for it. It's crazy. But we have the arrest of the Gorman Center, and then we have Benjamin Bratt. That's another appearance as Bail. And I just wanted to say about this. In the last arc, when they introduced Bail and it was Benjamin Bratt, I'm like, what the heck? They're replacing Bail. This is crap. Then I thought about it. If Bail is actually going to have a part in this, and it makes sense that he should. And if Jimmy Smits wasn't available, man, Benjamin Bratt is knocking it out the park as Bail. He did a great job. What do you guys feel as I mute my mic so you can't hear my dogs?
I'm calling BS on the Benjamin Pratt reshoot. I'm looking up Jimmy Smith's stuff, and you usually can see if things are in production. There's nothing on his schedule that is like on IMDb. I don't know if this was some kind of like money thing. I do like Benjamin Pratt though. Like if they're going to replace him, I think they found a great actor. At least they kept it, they kept them similar backgrounds, similar actors. I mean, not to say that they're the same person, but they're both really good actors. And if we're going to get more, I don't think we're going to, but if we're going to get more Bail Organa, then yeah. But I still think it's.
Well, I heard Jimmy Smits was ill, maybe,
well,
and
that would suck if that's true.
If it was just to me, my dogs have shut out now, so I can finish my point. But if they were just going to show Bale in that last episode for that one shot, just as a cameo, just that, then I would have been so pissed. But the fact that they did bring him back here and he actually had a part, it wasn't just a fan service. Okay, here's Bail Organa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel much better about it now that he's had a part.
But I mean, how long was he on screen for? Like total 30 seconds to 2 minutes. I mean, you know what I mean? Like there's not. I mean, I just feel like they could have.
Well, okay.
But I mean, if Jimmy Smith, honestly, if he's sick and he's not doing well, then that sucks because he's an awesome actor and I've loved him in everything he's in, from Sons of Anarchy to all these different things he does. But I'm not mad about it. I get it why they got to do things. I mean, we've talked about the budget 47 times on here already. That sucks that plays a part in stuff that we love, but I think that to sit there and cry about it is pointless. So, yeah, I mean, he's a great actor. Benjamin Pratt is. I'm fine with it, I guess. I still call him BS. I think there's something going on. I mean, if he is sick, that sucks. If there was money, that sucks. Like,
The other thing, too, is if it wasn't Bale, if they just picked a different character to play the role, it wasn't, they never brought in Bail Organa. It's just some other senator that set this all up. Would that have worked for you? And if that wouldn't have worked for you, we had to have this, I think. So Jack, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good point that. It depends on the character that it had to have brought in and how they have spun it as well. I think if they did use another character just to add to it, it would have been decent if Mon Mothma had seen that character get assassinated as well. So then it did become a case of now you do realise what you're going to be going into if you do speak up. I think that's the only way they probably could have spun it. But in terms of Jimmy Smith's, the whole recast and stuff, I'm absolutely fine with it. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, we're getting a recast of Baylan Skull for the obvious reasons as well, and that's obviously a massive character. So people have just got to be able to see past that sort of thing. But like Jimmy says, if there's more to it than health and it is cash and stuff like that, that does suck. If I'm totally honest.
Yeah. I think Tahu brings up a great point here. They could have used one of the ET lookalike senators; would have been fine in that role.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on because we only got a few minutes left here. All right, so Mon's speech, just phenomenal. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, just that touching on that death of truth. That is such a perfect speech for all of this, for the whole thing. Like. The truth is out there and we're choosing to ignore it. It's just such a powerful speech.
Just relatable.
Yeah. So relatable.
Like
so relatable.
Oh my gosh. Like it's driving me nuts how relatable it is with my current work situation and current political situation. I feel like I'm getting a double whammy of it. From what was being said to what we know is the truth, there is an abyss. And I was just like, woof. Like, why did oh my gosh, we could talk an hour about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know we're gonna.
It's just excellent dialogue, and to be given by Geneva O'Reilly, her performance and like you said as well, Mike. If we're talking about awards and Emmys and all that good stuff, Andor's going to absolutely clean house.
I would think so. Yeah. Now, along the lines of Mon in her speech, were you guys surprised that Perrin or Mon's daughter weren't in this episode? Like, maybe something's happened and she's starting to extricate herself from her family, so the whole transition will be easier. But I sort of felt like if one more shot with Perrin or one more shot with Mon and her daughter, just to really drive home what she's going to leave behind here, might have been powerful. But I'm not complaining at all. I mean, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on
They
that?
referenced her, the daughter, in the other trilogy, the other arc, and then
Mhm.
Perrin. We saw him there. I don't know. Maybe a dinner, but I mean the wedge coming between those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder because I saw someone say, what happens to Perrin now? Like, do we
Mhm.
see like him get snatched up, or like
Well, there are a
or
lot of characters left out there in
no? I
this
mean,
that
we still
you don't
haven't. I
know.
mean, they just kind of leave stuff in like B2 from the very first arc, and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, I would be curious as to see what happens. I think it would have been okay. I just don't know where you fit it
Yeah.
in these episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have a place. I'm sure they probably tried, but it doesn't have a place. Maybe we see something later, him getting picked up. Or I also
Mhm.
think that the Mask of Fear books, or whatever, the Reign of the Empire books, probably going to cover some of this. So
Yeah.
we'll get
Yeah.
that later, and then we
Mhm.
get to one. Over the next 2 years, we'll get those books. So maybe
Yeah.
that's when we're going to get that story.
Yeah. I mean, I can't complain really. There's, like I said, I was on the edge of my seat, especially as we get up to this next point here. Is the escape. Cassian coming in and just, I have friends everywhere, and just the the look on Mon's face and everything leading up to that. I mean, I'm leaving a lot out because we only have a few minutes left, but just Cassian and how calm, cool, and collected he is.
Oh,
He's
he's
still
just
got the cut on his lip from the fight that he was just in the day before. But dude, he's on point. He is professional. He leads her out. Just walking up to her driver, and he's like, What's his name? What's his name?" And then calling out the guy's name to get him calmed down and blast him. Oh man, I seriously just on the edge of my seat. That whole exchange, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god,
it's
just
stupid because
so
we know
well
they
done.
both survive.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Clearly, you know the
bro.
outcome. You know the outcome, but because the
yeah,
acting's so good and the writing's so good, it's still
yeah.
suspenseful. It's still keeping you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great
Oh,
stuff though.
but
Great
yeah.
stuff.
Anything you guys want to put in about that last little bit there?
I just thought it showed, you think all the way back to the episode 7 Messenger, just
Mhm.
kind of shows that he's become the guy that the rebellion needs because he's so calm. He shoots
Yes.
that ISB agent real
Mhm.
quick before she has a chance. He
Mhm,
does
Yep.
all these
mhm.
different things, and just like, man,
Yeah. He is
um,
such a professional.
he just and that
Mhm.
he's now the Cassian that we know from
Yeah.
Rogue One, and I think that
Absolutely.
that evolution we get to see it unfold, and I can't wait to watch Rogue One sometime this week after this.
Yeah.
So
Before we wrap it up, real quick, then, what we're going for in the next 3 episodes? We're gonna go for cameo, and what was your thing? I was thinking, I can't remember now. But go for cameo. I think there's a strong chance we're going to see Galen Erso. Jimmy, who do you reckon we're going to
Mhm.
see?
I would think Galen, and I think the fall of Dantooine maybe.
Nice, Mike.
Yeah. I don't even know. It's just, it's just so like it is so hard to make predictions with this because any ideas that I might have, they've already thought 100 steps ahead of me and have so masterful.
We
But I
get
did
more
want to touch
thought.
on one more thing here, real quick. The Dear Cassian letter.
Oh
Okay.
man, dear John.
What do you
Yeah.
guys think? Her, like, it's either that or she's dying, right? Her character, either they're gonna kill her
I don't know if we'll
free
see her
Cassian
anymore.
from her. I know.
I've seen something crazy right
Is
today that she's pregnant and the son is Poe Dameron, which I know is not the case because I've read the comics. But could you
Yeah,
imagine?
they're
yeah.
not redoing that one. I'm sorry, but yeah, I
I
saw that as well.
yeah.
I don't
I
think we're going to see her again.
I
No,
don't
I don't.
either. I like how they left it though, because could you imagine there could be a Bix spinoff? Like, how good would a series be just following Bix and her adventures, going forward? Because to me, somehow they had to get Bix out of the show. It was either
Yeah,
Wow,
she dies or she
wow.
leaves, like happened here.
I thought
Because
maybe
she's
she
out
took
there
her own
somewhere.
life at first. I thought he was when she woke up. I thought that she was. I hate to say this out loud, but I thought she was going to be hanging from the rafters or something.
Ooh,
Drug
Like I thought
overdose.
she was like
I'm
taking. I
glad it
mean,
didn't go that
I
way.
knew she. Yeah, I'm glad it didn't go that dark. But with this show, like who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
Could
But
could you
it's still
imagine?
pretty sick
Go
and
on, Jimmy.
twisted though, because like, oh, I'll see you when you finish it, and we all know, no, you won't.
Could you imagine if it was that crazy that she was actually an ISB agent and the whole reason she killed that torture
Oh
guy
my
is because she
god.
couldn't want the information to leak out? I'll leave it on that bombshell. I'm going to
Oh,
go watch rest of Andor.
obviously, we all still have a ton to say. So tune in to Explore the Force next week. I believe Sunday. We're hoping to all get together, recap this whole series, so tune in, see what happens. It could be a 3-hour episode, guys. I don't know. It's just so much, so much. But thank you all for listening. I know you want to get off here and get onto the show. Jimmy, Jack, any last words?
Enjoy
it. Yeah. Alrighty.